What's up, everyone? So this is my 2003 LB7 Duramax. This has been a video I've been wanting to make for a long time. So about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I had an issue with the truck where I was getting coolant in the oil. So initially, I thought it was going to be head gaskets. It is a built trans EFI Live truck. So I mean, they make roughly maybe a little over 500 horse to the wheels. It wasn't anything too crazy. But I figured head gaskets was, probably the issue. So as I was tearing it down, I ended up finding, when I pulled the cylinder head off, that one of the back cylinder walls was all scraped up. So I ended up having to pull a short block and, tear that down. And as we got everything torn down, it ended up being there's a crack that went up that cylinder wall, and it broke that lower piston, or it broke the lower piston ring. So that's where that scratch was coming from. And, as we looked at everything, we ended up finding that there's a crack that went across all three center mains and then cut up into the cylinder walls. So I ended up at that point, I had to find another block, and I ended up just building the motor. As you can see, I'll show you all the pictures here going through this video of, how everything took place. I ended up building it in my garage. I've never built a motor before. I've tinkered with this truck for a while, but building a motor was a completely different animal. The only thing that I didn't do was the machine shop work. There's a local machine shop about an hour away from here that did, that stuff. They honed out the new block and decked the heads and that stuff. But as for the motor build, I ended up doing Waggler rods, SoCal pistons, ARP head studs, main studs, keyed the crank. But overall, it was kind of a mild build. It wasn't like a full high horsepower build where, it's new valve springs and I don't know. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to make massive power with this truck at the end of the day. So after I got it built, I ended up using a stock CP3 and a Stealth 64 G2 turbo. I kind of built it with, in the back of my head, maybe adding on to it later on, which is why I went with the stock fuel pump and that turbo, because I could do dual CP3s and a compound setup. But I'm not sure if I'm ever going to go that route, because I want it to be reliable. I use it as a truck, I tow, so I guess with compounds you still get a good spool up, but I still want it to be reliable. I don't need a 1,000 horsepower truck to tow. I mean, it would probably work, but then I'd be worried about other issues too. So maybe down the road that might be a thing. But overall, it was pretty neat. I'm curious if anybody else has had a similar issue to this. I've never heard of, a Duramax block cracking. Maybe if it's like a 1,500 horsepower truck. But for me, I don't, I was only running maybe a little over 500, like I said. So I'm almost thinking it might have been a bad casting from the factory or something like that. And it happened, it was right around 158,000 miles on it, and I've had the EFI Live tunes on it for probably 70,000 miles. So I mean, it's been running like that for a long time. I don't think I've done anything too crazy with it to cause that to happen. I do beat on it a little bit, but at the end of the day, I couldn't imagine the block getting cracked on it. And actually, whenever I try to explain this to people, they kind of look at me like I'm crazy that the block actually cracked on just the EFI Live tuning. So, but I also am not afraid to take full responsibility for it, because I do beat on it some. It was, you're making almost twice the horsepower from the factory. But overall, it was a great learning experience building the motor. I know my dad helped me, some of my friends have helped me, but it was really neat to do the motor yourself. I learned a lot of stuff about it. As you're seeing through some of the pictures, I really tried to take my time and clean everything up. And actually, the first time I drove it, I blew a transmission line off, and it soaked the whole motor with transmission fluid. And then after that, everything stuck to it, and the motor looks pretty terrible at this point now. I tried cleaning it off, pressure spraying it, but it's still hard to clean. But, it did look really good before I put it in the truck, at least, if that counts for anything. overall, I mean, let me know if you've had any issues like this, or you've heard of somebody cracking block on their truck like this. You know, I'm kind of curious to see if anybody else has had this issue. You know, I haven't seen anything on forums or anything about this. So, I'm curious to see if anybody else has had this. Let me know what you think about the motor, and maybe if there's any ideas you have, or, you know, like I said, I don't know if I'll ever compound it or anything like that. The bottom end's definitely built for it, but we'll see how it goes. So, like always, you know, if you like this video, either comment, like it, subscribe. That stuff keeps me making videos, and, you know, it gives me feedback on, you know, if I'm doing stuff good, if you guys enjoy it. So, like always, thanks for watching.